Hi, this is Nathalie Kalbach, and I'm here for Creative Jumpstart 2020, and I'm super, super excited to have my friend Jane LaFazio, I hope I say her name right,
You did.
um, once again with us. I love Jane's work. I actually have met her after I already followed her for a couple years ago. I don't know when, but I think it's like 6 years, maybe 5 years, roundabout.
Was
Uh,
it was it in New Jersey or was it in Seattle?
I think we met at both places, but we actually had breakfast together in Seattle, right?
Okay, all right. Okay,
And
so I
that's
was
when we
yeah,
connected a little bit more, like because
yeah,
oftentimes teachers don't really have time to hang out with each other because of
yeah.
schedules. But I remember that you were like, let's have breakfast together, and it was super, super fun. And
That's
I
what I
got to know
remember too.
you a
Yeah.
little bit better. So I have followed her ever since. I love her style, I love her artwork. She's super, super amazingly talented with fabric and sketching and does all kinds of different things. But I want her to tell you about herself and her artwork herself. So, welcome, Jane.
Thank you,
How are
Natalie.
you?
Thank you very much. So I guess I should start by saying I started my art career by just drawing with pencil and then added watercolor to it and then started sewing, hand stitching on my watercolors.
Hmm.
And then I read an article that you could stitch on fabric. So I started making art quilts and then I started doing surface design on the fabric for the art quilts because I'm a big fan of originality. And
Yeah.
by doing design and stamping and painting on fabric, that gave me original fabric. So I've become a mixed media artist, kind of doing one at a time, those things.
So, is what is your background? Did you always kind of do art? Was that your professional background, or did you have a different background at all? Like,
Well, my early background, like I always say 100 years ago, I was a flight attendant because all I wanted to do was travel. And then the airline went on strike, and so I had to find something else to do. I decided to go back to school, and I was going to take secretarial skills. And my husband, who's a personnel manager, said, "Let's rethink this." So I got into graphic design.
oh,
So I
nice.
was yeah. So I was a graphic designer, technical illustrator for high tech companies for many years because they never really believed that I could draw because it's all in here.
Yeah.
And so I avoided drawing, but I was always creative, made stuff. Like I remember, I was just telling somebody I did a book report in fifth grade on Pandora's box, and I made an open up paper color pencil drawn box, so that was all three dimensional. So I've always had, that inkling. But it wasn't until I took an art class, a drawing class in 1992, a community ed class actually, and I just sat there with a pencil and really focused on the object and worked on drawing what I saw, not what I thought I saw, and realized, hey, I really can draw. And I really enjoyed drawing with just pencil and graphite. And then that teacher moved away, and a new teacher, a watercolor teacher, came in. And I was like, I want to do watercolors, but I only have Tuesday mornings available. So I became a watercolor artist.
And a very good one.
Thank you. Thank you. So it was finally then that I realized, okay, yeah, I am an artist. Yeah,
Yeah, and you teach a lot too.
I do.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but this year's theme of Creative Jumpstart that I sent out to all the artists, and then they will do a 10-minute video, roundabout about their about that theme, was your artistic superpower. So, if we talk about superpower, and I know sometimes it's hard for people to actually, because you're like, I don't want to brag, or I don't actually know what is my superpower. Do you tell me? But
Yeah.
what do you think is your artistic superpower? And if your non artistic superpower is different, what is that one?
Okay, so I had to ask people what my superpower was. And I have been told before that it's either color or mixing color. And I can address that by saying when I first started that watercolor class, I could only afford primary colors, red, yellow, blue. So I really learned how to mix color. And I do it intuitively. I can't explain it. So that wouldn't be good for Creative Jumpstart because it would be a video of me just words, mixing color. But anyway, and then, I do enjoy putting fabric together. But I think the superpower I'm going to do for Creative Jumpstart sounds funny, but I'm really good at drawing earrings or jewelry. When I travel, I end up often buying a piece of jewelry, so I draw it in my sketchbook. And whenever I posted it, I have the real earring, say, and my drawing, and people are like, that's what's so what? That's a pair of earrings. And it's like, no, this is the one I drew.
That's funny.
So, yeah, so I thought, I'll do that. It's fun.
That is fun because it's also something that you can easily do and, like look at it. So do you have a ton of earrings?
Is my husband? No, I do. Yeah. I really enjoy jewelry. It's funny. Years ago, I went to the bead store. I bought all these beads. I made a necklace. I was like, oh, look at this. I said to somebody, what would you pay for this? And they said, oh, $5.
Oh.
Well, there's $60 worth of beads in it.
Right,
so,
yeah.
From then on, I bought jewelry. I support jewelry artists.
I do love buying jewelry too. I think it's fabulous, and it's true that people sometimes don't know the value, of course, because they're not really into it, but I really love it. Yeah. So
it's the value of where you bought it. It's the story behind it.
Exactly.
It makes you feel, it's all of that.
I think so too. It's like, especially because when you bought it, when you traveled, you have all these memories with that, and you like put it on, and it kind of like gives you that short memory again that you think about where you bought it and the feeling that you had when you got it, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So what's your non-artistic superpower?
Well, I did have a friend that said it was accessorizing, speaking of jewelry. But that's like, I can also do the splits, but neither one of them are big money makers. So, random. Let's see. I think finding joy in life, I really do look for beauty and look for the joyous parts of life. So I'll take that as my superpower.
Yes, you do. And you also bring a lot of joy. You have one of the most, I don't even know how you say it in English, but like it's contagious, your smile. Like every time I see you smiling on a picture, I'm like, I think that's for me, if you would ask me, I would say that's your superpower, is your smile. It's very contagious, and you look like I want to be around because you can make me happy. So
thank you. Thank you.
So Jane, so I know that you mentioned that before. You work in mixed media, you do watercolor, you work a lot with fabric, sometimes you do jelly printing or mono printing, all kinds of stuff. But for you, how do all those different art forms relate? Like, do you ever combine certain disciplines?
I do. I definitely do. Like I mentioned, I sew on paper, either by hand or by machine. I sew fabric to paper and paper to fabric. So when I'm doing a mixed media quilt, that really means mixed media. There's, paper and tea bags and all kinds of stuff in it. So I do mix them together. I also like the idea of when, I do love to travel. And so sometimes I'm like super inspired to make a piece of art from that trip and have the choice. Do I want to make it an art quilt? Do I want to make it an accordion book? I like that. I like ability.
Yeah, I do love seeing your little books too. They're so cool. Fabric is one thing that I do love a lot, but I have not, maybe I should take a class with you.
Yeah, so.
So, as we said, you do a lot of traveling for teaching and also I think just for fun, but you travel a lot. How does traveling influence your your creativity? Like I know that we all get influenced somehow when we go and travel, but are there certain things that you look for? Is it thoughts, or are you is it more that you express yourself then with art journaling, or is it like all of it?
Yeah. So I think when I'm traveling, I get it down in my art journal, and that art journaling helps me understand what I'm attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved pattern, always. So I was thinking about it, like my first trip to San Miguel de Allende in Mexico was Gulp 19 years ago, in the year 2000. And I was so struck by the patterns and colors. We were in a museum, and they had all these, they call them pre-Columbian seals, like decorations. And I just got so into those. Mm-hmm. And then also the tile. So I think that was the very beginning of bringing those patterns and things I saw from my travel into my artwork. Mm-hmm. And then more recently, my husband and I were in Morocco. So again, tiles and colors and the way the tiles are put together and the shapes. And getting them down in my journal helps me remember them. And since we've been back from Morocco, I cut a stencil based on this little mosaic that we actually made when we were there. So, and then fabric. Oh my God, fabric. I was in Guatemala, and we're talking pattern and fabric. So bringing home all those bits and pieces and working on them and putting them together with other things. It all is super inspiring. And I know you walk around your neighborhood and get inspiration. So we both know you can get it anywhere. But certainly like a foreign land is really...
Yeah, I think that what you said earlier as a superpower, and that totally resonates to me too, is finding joy in everything. Because I think like we all have been in situations in our life that might have not been as happy and wonderful. And we all cope with those things differently. And for me, it has always been like in the worst situation, I try to find something that lets me not go too deep down in this feeling of this is a terrible situation. So I moved as a kid a lot. And so, you lose your friends and you have to get adjusted to new beginnings. And I think I've always tried to then make do and see what is it that makes me feel like home or grounded here. And so I guess this might be similar, I don't know, but it might be similar to you. And then when you go somewhere else, in a different country, you also look for the differences, right?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then if we're talking about being in a stressful situation and making art, you really escape into your right brain and you're not thinking about anything else. You're just making those artistic decisions, which is a great escape, but also productive.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's so true. I loved your, I think I saw it mostly on Instagram. I loved your pictures of Morocco. It was so inspiring to look at those. Where can people find you on social media to follow your artistic and also some personal glimpses of Jane?
Well, on Instagram, I'm Jane LaFazio. That's the benefit of having an unusual name. I can just use my name. On YouTube, I'm Jane LaFazio. On Facebook, I'm Jane LaFazio, my personal one, and then Jane LaFazio Artist. And then my website is Jane LaFazio.
No way.
Yeah, I tell you. So pretty easy.
Yeah, I will definitely write this down under the interview too. But in case you just see it on a different platform, this is how you can find Jane, and I would definitely recommend you follow her. She's very inspiring. So I don't know if you agree to that, but if I look at your colors, I feel they're very soft and soothing. What are your favorite colors to use, and do you know why, or do you put thought in that, or as you said with mixing colors, that just comes intuitively?
Ooh, yeah, because well, I know my colors to wear.
Yeah.
different than the colors in my house and that are different than the colors in my artwork, which is interesting, I think,
Yes.
somehow. And I don't have favorite colors in painting. I think we go in, I think I go in like Jags where it's like, oh, it's all red, orange, and yellow, and then I move over into blues and greens. So I kind of go back and forth. Lately, I've been kind of drawn to pink. So that, yeah. And pink is easy to do with, not easy, but, to do with art quilts because it's got fabric and you can dye it. So that's kind of interesting. And I love peonies, and they're pink. Down the rabbit hole. So I just think my color palette is inspired by what it is I'm creating or what the theme is. I think in monoprinting I use a lot of bright colors, and then in some of my art quilts I use very muted colors and natural colors because I want to give that message of either age or a deeper thought. I think that's how I make my decisions.
Do you feel like when you, of course, when you think of Guatemala or, Morocco, you think of like really bright and colors. Do you feel that when you come back that you tend to use those color schemes that you had seen on your travels more versus going to, I know you go to the Ghost Ranch.
No, Ghost Ranch. It's in. I go to Taos.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Different cities now. Albuquerque.
I'm sorry.
But you're right. I did just get back from Taos, New Mexico, and so those colors are sage green and terracotta and soft tans and browns. So yeah, it definitely influences me. And then the blue sky, giant skies and thunderstorms. When we were in Taos, we went into a museum, saw this gorgeous painting, bought an art poster of it, and it captures that sage green against the yellow. So just talking about it gets me excited and makes me think, okay, well, that'll be my next little, path of color. So yeah, I'm greatly influenced by that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense, right? Somehow it needs to come down. I talked to another artist earlier this week, and she said she is now using way more muted and neutral colors, just because she is in that phase of her life where things are calming down, and and I thought that was also an interesting point, and it's just interesting how much color can convey in different ways of our own inner feelings.
Yeah, and definitely back to what we wear.
Yes.
When you wear a bright color, that means you're ready to walk into a room and be seen. But if you start wearing darker colors, black especially, you'll meld in with everybody else. You're not making any judgment. I wear a lot of black too. But yeah, color's a huge thing.
I think color is I definitely feel that I changed wearing, like I'm a black, like I love black. It's just, I don't know, I always liked it. Maybe I thought I looked more sophisticated when I went.
Maybe.
But I definitely, when I started doing more art, I also started wearing more color. So it became like you could have caught me dead as a teenager wearing anything magenta or pink. And nowadays I'm like, that's pretty cool. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, interesting. No, I did wear, I made my own clothes in high school. And so they were flowers. Oh, I remember it. A sleeveless pink flowered jumpsuit. So yeah, I choke thinking about that. But anyway, I'm sure it was really cute.
I'm sure it was. I wish I could make my own clothes. Are you still making them?
No, I stopped. My standards are much higher than they were in high school. So no, I don't do it anymore at all.
That is funny. That was was super, super fun. I cannot wait to see your video. I know the last time you were on Creative Jumpstart, it was so, 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 so fabulous too.
Oh, thank you.
And so I can't wait to draw earrings too.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to buy some new ones. No. I need to draw.
Do you ever, speaking of, we both share the love, last question, share the love for cats. And before we started recording this interview, we actually showed off our cats.
There are cats, yes.
Do you draw them a lot?
You know, that's funny. I don't. And I think, well, I don't know why. I take pictures of them, as do you, all the time. And of course, they're moving all the time. I don't know why I don't. I did art quilts and drawings of our two previous cats. But yeah, I've commissioned art for Buddy and Bebop. I haven't done it myself. Okay, next superpower next year.
Yeah, exactly. You can draw them, and they look like a pair of bebops. I love those names. Thank you so much, Jane. That was super awesome to talk to you. I hope I see you soon in person again. And please sign up for Creative Jumpstart using Jane's link. She will appreciate that. And yeah, I can't wait for you to see her video for Creative Jumpstart 2020.
Thank you. Bye.